Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Erin, and I am a content manager at BrightTALK for the business, intelligence, and analytics community. And I'm here today with Alexey Malanov. He is a malware expert at Kaspersky Lab. Alexey, thank you so much for joining me for this Ask the Expert session today.
Good morning.
Good morning. So before we kick off, I'll just introduce myself a little bit more and tell the audience a bit about how they can get involved today. So as I mentioned, I'm a content manager here at BrightTALK, and I manage the BI and analytics community. And I specialize in creating and curating content around the topics of big data, analytics, AI, machine learning, and BI technologies. And I do this globally by working with experts all over the world to create content that will keep our audience informed and engaged on what's happening in the industry. So if you have any questions about the series, or you'd like to participate, or you know somebody who would like to participate, you can email me at ejunio@brighttalk.com, or you can contact me via social media at the handles below using hashtag AskTheExpert. And finally, just a couple last things. If you'd like to engage with the larger BrightTALK community or with Kaspersky about today's session, then you can feel free to tweet hashtag AskTheExpert to BrightTALK and at Kaspersky. And as this is a live session, this is a great opportunity for you to have your questions answered by Alexey. So we encourage you to use the questions box on your screen to send in questions throughout the webinar about AI technology, where it's headed, or where we're at now, and we will try to get those answered for you. And as always, don't forget to rate the webinar and provide any comments at the end if you can, because we love the feedback. So Alexey, I'm going to turn it over to you now. If you'd like to give us a brief background on yourself, that would be great.
Thank you. Hello again, my name is Alexey Malanov. I've been working at Kaspersky Lab for 14 years. I've been working as a head of Anti-Malware team for 5 years, from 2008 till 2012. And after that, I decided that I want to focus on the technologies. I stopped managing my group and focused on different technologies of Kaspersky Lab and others, like blockchain, cryptocurrencies, machine learning, and etc. So today I would like to speak about ethics in case of artificial intelligence. Let's start. What we will cover today. First of all, there are two things, completely different things. There is a strong AI and weak AI, and we will discuss the difference between them. We will discuss that strong AI can be offended and offensive, and these are two different ethical problems. Also, we will discuss different biases which cover the weak AI, and also we will walk through different technical aspects, like poisoning and hacking of machine learning. Let's start from the slide. There are completely two different things. The strong AI is the hypothetical thing that doesn't exist right now, that has its conscious, it has self-awareness, and it is capable to do things that it was not programmed to do. So it can apply its knowledge to different problems, not just those it was specifically programmed to. And the weak AI, which we will call machine learning, is completely different thing. It is focused to solve specific narrow task, exactly which it was programmed to. What we know about the strong AI is that it doesn't exist yet, and we still don't even know when we should expect it. We can see at this picture that our human evolution is going in an exponential way till this moment. You can see that the time lapses between different inventions getting shorter and shorter. That leads to make some futurists to believe that we will soon reach the singularity, when we will not be able to understand how machines work and how they do those things. But in my personal opinion, no processes in nature work really in the exponential way. In most cases, they work in a logistic curve way. So when we are on the left side of this curve, we think that we are standing on the exponential. But when we are passing the specific point, right here it is near the zero, the growth stabilizes and gets slower and slower. So this happened with the population, with the Earth population. Before 90s, we thought that the population will grow exponentially, but right now we can see that it doesn't. So, according to consensus prognosis of different scientists, the strong artificial intelligence will outperform humans in 45 years. The funny thing is that according to North American researchers, it will happen in 74 years. And according to Asian researchers, it will be already in 30 years. Probably they know something that we don't know. And according to the same prognosis, there are different tasks that will be outperformed by artificial intelligence in different time periods. For example, according to this prognosis, machines will translate things better than humans in 8 years, in 6 years from now. They will write human school essays in 8 years, driving trucks very soon, and playing Go. They expected it to be better than human one in 2027, but we all know that this happened 3 years ago. So this prognosis is not the truth. So it can be not accurate. So when someone tells that something will happen in 45 years, it means like we will invent it someday. The same thing happened with the fusion energy. Right now we expect it to be cost effective in 40 years, but the same prognosis was done 50 years ago when it was first invented. So this is a tricky thing. I personally expect artificial intelligence, strong one, to be implemented as soon as possible. When it will be implemented, there will be a big bunch of ethical issues and questions. They can be divided into two different areas, which the first one is offensive towards AI. So the questions are like, can we hurt the AI if it can feel pain or loneliness? Is it okay to leave it for a long time? Can I use it as a slave? Of course, right now when we are talking to our chat bots like Siri or Alexa, we don't bother to be offensive. But if we know that it can feel pain and it can suffer, this will be another issue. So these questions are still without answers. And another part of problems is that AI can be a threat for people. This is a well-known problem. We have seen a lot of movies about this case. There are different Skynets and Terminators that are trying to kill all the people because we don't know how does artificial intelligence think about people. So this is a well-known subject. And the problem is that science fiction blurs the risks. So we think that this strong AI will be not soon, there is too much time, so we can relax right now. And right now we already have problems with the weak AI. So in movies, artificial intelligence is usually malevolent. So we hope we will be smarter to avoid this. In case of, and this is the distant future, of course. In case of weak artificial intelligence, which we call machine learning, what is it? This is the ability to learn from different examples without explicit programming. Of course, if we don't program machine learning to be malevolent, it will be fine. So no one will die. Of course, we are not talking about some mistakes. Of course, they could be some, but this is not the case. Let's see what can go wrong. First of all, some people, when they are trying to implement machine learning, they could have bad intentions. One example from this year, there was a system in the Google that tried to automate the drones. So some people think that this project Maven could finally lead to development of fully autonomous weapons. So this is a quite big ethical issue. So several employees resigned in protest. A lot more signed a petition to stop this project, and this raised a quite big ethical question. Let's stop researching this way. So what we are going to get finally is this robot, but this is quite a distant future. But even if we don't have bad intentions, sometimes we still have a greed bias. When the machine learning system is developed, the developers can put there some greed ideas. Let's look at the example. In the case of healthcare, some systems are not designed to provide the best healthcare. They are designed to make the suggestion that will lead to the biggest income. And in most cases, when the machine learning is used to make paid suggestions or to provide some information, it tries to maximize the income. I'm not going to say this is bad. I'm going to say this can happen. And even in some cases, this is what is happening right now, actually. And in some cases, the society itself is not interested in implementing the best machine learning with moral quality. Look at this example. We can limit the traffic speed in the cities to, for example, 12 kilometers per hour or 10 miles per hour. Of course, this will lead to zero casualty rate in case of accident, but we will not be able to drive in this city because it will be almost useless. So sometimes, I would like to repeat, we are not interested in a moral paragon in case of machine learning ethics. And this is the nearest future. Of course, we will have to decide very soon where to put this threshold. I would like to add that ethics is just one parameter of the system. Imagine that we have to maximize GDP, gross domestic product. We can put such task to the machine learning algorithm, and if we avoid adding ethical constraints, it will just decide, for example, to kill all the people that can't work and only consume resources or something. So ethics must be a part of the system, of the machine learning system. This is what is happening. This is not happening right now, but I'm pretty sure that in the nearest future we will have to give such tasks to our machine learning algorithms. The problem with ethics is that it is different in different countries, and it is hard to formalize it. Imagine that it changes through times. Look at these topics like LGBT rights, interracial marriages, and so on. Times changes in several years. Also, ethics changes due to some political or other circumstances, like some huge terrorists can change the situation. Look at this picture. This is the video surveillance in China. So it is okay in China to make the big scale surveillance with the analyzing the faces and with monitoring all the citizens. But in some countries, this could be treated unethical. This is what is happening right now, actually. The problem with it is that artificial intelligence really influences people. This is the real system, which is called social credit system. It is implemented by Chinese government to develop. It is developed to make the national reputation system. It analyzes the users' behavior and their habits to make some decisions if this citizen is good for the government or if he's not. So there are some examples, like spending money on diapers is good for system because it knows you're a good citizen, and when you're spending money on casino or online games, it is bad for the system. So this is the idea of the system. And the problem is that using such criteria can influence the people in the country. So they start to buy more diapers and spend less money on online games. And right now, the social credit system has not been run in full scale. It is being beta tested in different regions, and also it is being developed intensively. But I'm pretty sure the system will be run in the nearest future. Another example, much more obvious. Imagine the machine learning algorithm that recommends you which movie to watch. Usually people that don't use such systems, they look different films and different movies. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, different genres, etc. But in case of using the recommendation system, you can watch only the best movies that fit your preferences. So there will be much less variety. So your taste will be narrowed. In my personal opinion, this is not good. So this system influences me, and I became a more narrow person. But still, I use such recommendation systems. And the problem is here that we even don't know when we are being manipulated by such machines and such algorithms. In most cases, we think that everything is all right. I just watching the movies I like. And this is what is happening right now. Another problem with machine learning is different biases. So let me make an example. When we are using the data from the firm with racist policies, and we are using this data to teach the machine learning algorithm, the machine learning will also be racist. So this is obvious for most people, but still this is a big problem, since the machine learning algorithms accumulate the imperfectancy of the real life. For example, Microsoft, I think a year before, implemented a chatterbot with the name Tai, and it was designed to learn during the communication with real people. And only in one day it started to repeat receipts and sexually charged messages. So people are imperfect, so the algorithm became imperfect too. And in some cases, machine learning even can't understand all the complexity of real world. So this is what is happening right now. Another problem is with biases is wrong correlations. The most famous example is the I will explain it right now. With the wrong correlations, what is correlation? Is when two different substances are correlating, so they are growing and declining in the same way. For people, for example, it is quite obvious that not all the correlating values are actually connected. But for algorithms, it is not obvious, so it can't find the issue. It just learns from the data provided. This is the example. One machine learning algorithm was taught to prioritize different patients with different diseases in the queue of getting medical help. And at some moment, the algorithm decided that the asthmatics with pneumonia are less needed in the treatment than just asthmatics without pneumonia. This looks weird for people, but what was the reason? The reason was the algorithm looked at the data and found out that the people with asthma and pneumonia simultaneously, they don't die. Looks like they don't even need the medical treatment. But in reality, they are this situation is critical. That is why they gathered the medical treatment as soon as possible. So that is why they haven't died, not just because this is a good situation. And what is even worse compared to wrong correlations are feedback loops. That means that the reality influences the machine learning algorithm, and after that the algorithm influences the reality. In this example, there was a program, predictive policing, PredPol, and this software suggested to increase the police presence in some neighborhoods in California based on the crime data reported. And what has happened? The public reported crime much more because they were on site of police cars. This led to bigger crime reports in these neighborhoods, and this led to more police cars in these neighborhoods. So this is the classical feedback loop. So the reality was changed by machine learning algorithm. And so the conclusion from here is where racial discrimination is a factor of arrest, feedback loops could reinforce and perpetuate it. So this is quite a big problem for machine learning algorithms. And this is what is happening right now. So what can we do with all this? So are there any exits? The Obama administration report with the name Big Data Working Group released a specific report with the stating that potential of encoding discrimination and automated decisions there is a potential of encoding discrimination, and this report called for equal opportunity by design. But it's very easy to write this down to the report, but how to achieve it? The problem is that it is really hard to test such systems. There are a lot of biases, and we also even don't understand how do they work. For example, Google's photo application was classifying images of black people as gorillas, and Google was trying to change the algorithm. They were trying for 3 years, and they have finally made nothing more than just forbidding for this application to mark anyone or anything as a gorilla, chimps, or others. And it is even harder to explain the machine learning decisions because imagine there is some kind of neural network inside, there are some different coefficients inside, it has made some decision, but how can we explain this decision, and how can we make this decision in another way without reteaching this neural network? Another example, in 2015, the study has found that women were less likely to be shown high-income jobs. And another example is that Amazon same-day delivery service was systematically not available in black neighborhoods. And both companies were unable to explain why those decisions were made by their systems. They just said, this is hard to explain, this is the machine learning. There is a question. Who do we blame if AI makes the wrong decision? I have answered this question, so let me continue. This is what is happening right now, of course. After we have found out that something is wrong with machine learning, we are trying to regulate it some way. So we're trying to fix it at least on the at least by adding some additional laws. This year, in Germany, there was the first set of ethical standards for autonomous driving system, and there were different theses there. First one, that human safety is the top priority, and this is quite obvious. That there should be no discrimination in any factor, so no distinguishing people by different age, sex, etc. But what is much more important in our discussion right now is that they postulated that autonomous driving systems become an ethical imperative if the systems cause fewer accidents. So this is the capitulation. We all know that sooner or later those autonomous driving systems will drive much better than human will be. So this machine learning will be more and more popular. So we should bother right now. But another bunch of problems is that there are not only biases in the learning system, but also there are possibilities of poisoning the learning process. Poisoning is when someone is trying to add additional data to the learning data set and to take part in the learning process. An example. This is example from my area. I worked for 5 years in the virus lab, and there is a case. Imagine that the bad guy can create malicious samples, malicious files, very similar to clean one, and flood with them the virus lab. Finally, the machine learning system that works inside the virus lab will degrade and lose the threshold between good and bad files. So this is the poisoning idea. The same thing happens actually in case of spam. Someone can flood the filters with a lot of senseless spam to avoid filters next time. So this can eventually produce a false alarm. That is why we use multi-layered detection and not using only machine learning. So this is what is happening right now. Someone can take part in the learning process. But what is another example? Imagine the system that recognizes people using their photos, and you can generate fake accounts on the Facebook with the generated specific photos, like completely random or by morphing two different photos into a single one. So finally, if the Facebook teaches the face recognition system using those photos on the Facebook, it can finally fail to distinguish different people. You may say this is quite hard to implement such an attack, but let's see another example. So this is the nearest future. And example, these researchers, they used the hacking of the system. They have not taken part in the learning process. They have just used such specific glasses. They know how the algorithm works, so they were able to impersonate each other as the celebrities. On top, you can see those people with glasses, and on bottom you can see those celebrities. So this is a big problem. If someone knows how the algorithm works, it can use specific details to hack it and to cheat and to trick it. This is what is happening right now, but I would like to say that it is not currently in the wild because we are still not mad enough to give the machine learning systems the full control. They are currently only assisting in the cases where it is very important. So there are no systems that decide, that make decisions only using these machine learning recognition systems. But there are already systems that use to recognize different traffic signs. In this case, the researchers have added specific different small disturbance to those photos, and first three were recognized as a speed limit, and the fourth one was recognized as stop. And what is bad for people, we can't even understand why exactly those machines made such a decision. You may say that there are quite a big disturbance. So on the first sign there are two more words written, so people may say something is really wrong here. But the problem is that you don't have to add significant changes to pictures. You can just add a very small difference to the picture. On the left side there is a panda. We're adding the disturbance, very small disturbance, and right now the machine learning system is sure it is the gibbon. What is the result of this? What can happen? Imagine that the bad guy can use the specific shape, and it can put it to his luggage, and there will be a completely autonomous system that will X-ray this luggage and to find the pistol. So this specific shape will neutralize the pistol. And that is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about machine learning hacking. We can't afford those systems to take the control in the very important cases. We still want it to assist us, not more. Also, in the same way, one Chinese citizen can hack the social credit system. It can, of course, if he knows how the system works, it can buy a lot of diapers or do some other things that he wants to make himself the best one, the best guy, according to this system. That is the big problem of the future. Near future. Let's summarize what we have just discussed. There is no strong AI yet, so we are relaxed. So still there is an ethical imperative to use machine learning. We will use it more and more in the nearest future. We will give it more resources and more rights. So we will rely heavily on machine learning. Of course, in most cases, we will have good intentions, but and we will try to add ethics as the parameter of the system. But the ethics is very hard to formalize, and also there are a lot of different biases everywhere. So we also can't even explain some results. So machine learning sometimes works unexpectedly, in an unexpected way, and it also can be poisoned on and even hacked. So one can get the advantage, and also the problem is that machine learning influences our lives. And the problem is this is the nearest future. Okay, I have finished my introduction part, so let's go to questions.
Great. Oh, sorry, go ahead. These are audience questions.
Do you think AI will ever reach a point where it will be impossible to tell it apart from humans? Will we need to start considering human rights for AI? This is a tricky question. Right now, where it will, just a second, please. Actually, I don't fully understand the question. Impossible to tell it apart from humans. Could you please explain the question and I will answer it later? Thank you. Do you think AI will eventually replace highly skilled professionals that humans have normally trained for? Surgeons, lawyers, investment bankers. Yes, I think so. I'm pretty sure that replace humans in very skilled professions is the mid-term future. So surgeons, I'm pretty sure, will be automated, for example, in 20 years. Of course, I'm not a professional surgeon. Of course, I'm not a professional lawyer, but I'm pretty sure this is a quite easy task. Not impossible. That is much easier than to implement a strong AI with conscience, etc. So I think it will be quite soon. And in case of investment bankers, I'm not a professional in this area, but I'm pretty sure that right now those machine learning algorithms are already on par with investment bankers, skilled ones. So no. Junior, can you help me with the first question? How do you understand it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually just did have the user submitted an update to the question, and it says, to explain the previous question, do you think AI will be able to imitate humans so well that we won't be able to tell that it is AI? Does that help elaborate?
So this is what I first thought about. So I would like to repeat. In one moment, we will not be able to distinguish AI and the real person. Am I right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Actually, this happens right now. There is so-called the Turing test, where the real person is chatting with something, and he doesn't know if this something is a machine or a real person, and he has to guess who he's chatting with. And this test was passed a couple of years ago. So those chatbots that simulate the human, they are already exist. But another problem is that is it enough to say that this machine is quite clever? Actually, if the machine can simulate the person, if it can just answer to the questions and make similar mistakes or typos, it doesn't mean it understands anything. So this is just a philosophical or a game question if it can pretend to be a human. But if this AI will really understand what does it do, if it will really be able to think, in this case, this should be called the strong AI. So I personally think it will be invented, but probably not very soon. If I haven't answered the if I haven't answered the question, you can re-ask it.
Great.
Okay.
It looks like we have another audience question that just came in, actually. It says, what steps would you take to safeguard your privacy against future developments in AI and machine learning? Example, if I knew 20 years ago what the internet would become today, I would have been much more careful with the information I share online.
Oh, I think that I have bad news for you. I think in most cases you're not able to safeguard your privacy. If you want to use some kind of service, you most likely have to accept the so-called EULA, end user agreement, and you provide your data to these machine learning algorithms. And in most cases, you can't avoid this. So this is like you mentioned, you were more careful with your information 20 years ago. But right now, you can't use your usual life without providing such information. So bad luck here, I think. No advices.
So a little bit foreboding there. I do have some frequently asked questions here that we can just kind of go over a little bit. I know you did cover them in your presentation already, but in case you have any more examples that you would care to elaborate with. The first one is, so can we entrust important decisions and processes to AI right now? I know you said that, AI is still in its developmental phase, but it is becoming more sophisticated very quickly. So what about in the future? Will we be able to entrust important decisions and processes to it in the next 40 years?
In some cases, we already can entrust important decisions. Imagine that the aircraft is taking off and landing using the machine learning right now. I'm not pretty sure, is it actually machine learning or just a program without the model inside, but still we can entrust it the making decisions, because this is the isolated system without any possibilities to hack and poison the system. Of course, it can make some mistakes in case of unpredicted circumstances, but still it can do this job better than human. But another example, another side of the story is when we are trying to implement the autonomous vehicles. This is not an isolated system. Of course, there are a lot of factors outside of the car, different science, different cases, etc. So this is much more important decision here, and but still we will entrust the autonomous vehicles. So I'm pretty sure that vehicles will be autonomous in several years, despite all the facts.
Got it.
Can I ask a question?
So, and then this not to be alarmist or anything, but we've all seen Terminator and we're aware of the Skynet entity. So, should we be worried about the potential of a future Skynet-like entity developing in several years, and what might that look like, and how could we potentially prepare for something like that?
I prefer not to worry right now because there is still no strong AI. Why should I worry? Of course, there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of risks. Of course, probably there are extraterrestrials and some nuclear weapon, etc. But when should I worry? When there is a problem and I can change something. And when I can't change anything, I should not bother, I think.
So live in the moment, essentially, is what you're saying. And I guess the final question is sort of, what can we do when it comes to regulation right now? Are there steps that we can take before things begin to get out of hand?
Actually, in case of regulation of machine learning, I prefer the same position like in the case of normal and usual laws. I will explain. Of course, we all know that murdering is a crime. And of course, we have laws prohibiting murdering. But of course, there are still crime in the real life. And in the same situation with machine learning. Of course, we need to write down that we have to program machine learning well, we have to avoid discrimination, etc. But still, there of course will be problems in these cases. So, like usual life, we are just writing to the laws what we're expecting things to be, not a real laws for robots.
Great. I think that was actually what the user earlier was kind of questioning is, will there be a need for laws for robots, similar to how we have laws for humans? And will we eventually need to incorporate laws into our society that determine how humans are allowed to treat robots and treat AI? Do you think that's a possibility? Alexey? Hello, Alexey?